Happy Sunday, I guess, unless you're Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's afraid that Donald Trump is trying to kill her. These people. Hey, if you're not subscribed already to this show, please do. It's free to subscribe. Just you can click subscribe on YouTube or go over to Facebook and like and follow the Dollemore Daily over there. I would appreciate it very much. Let me read this headline to you from the Daily Beast. Marjorie Taylor Greene whips conspiracy theorists into frenzy. Quote, "I'm not suicidal." The MAGA firebrand asked her supporters to play detective and figure out which, quote unquote, powerful people might want to silence her for good. Got a couple of tweets here from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But let me say, it's one of those deals where she's almost there. She's almost gotten there. She wants to claim that she's a protector, a defender, someone with righteous indignation about pedophilia and pedophiles and child rape and child trafficking. Yet she has aligned herself with Donald Trump, whose name is listed among some of the worst in the Epstein files, dozens, maybe hundreds of times. We don't know because they won't release the files. And she's saying, if I die, I'm not suicidal, but there might be foreign influences that would have me killed, or the very powerful people. She never names Donald Trump. She never gets quite there. It's all very on the nose for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let me read 3 paragraphs from this, 2.5 actually, and then I'm going to get to her tweets, which are really, as you would expect, batshit bananas crazy. Marjorie Taylor Greene unsettled her supporters on Saturday after posting a message to her personal Twitter account clarifying that she's, quote, not suicidal. The seemingly out-of-nowhere declaration came just 12 minutes after the Georgia Congresswoman posted a long message to her official Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene Twitter account in which she doubled down on her demands for the Jeffrey Epstein files to be released, as fellow Republicans made an 11th hour bid to prevent a House vote on the issue. I'm gonna circle back to that. The typically MAGA-aligned lawmaker is notably one of only 4 Republican House members who has signed onto the discharge petition, which she fears could put her in danger, and is what the follow-up post was about. We'll get to that, but really quickly, why are Republicans fighting so hard to keep the Epstein files from being released? Donald Trump claims there's nothing to see here. Maybe he just means by that, there's nothing for you to see here. We're not going to let you see it, so there's nothing to see. But why would they're threatening other members of the House of Representatives, other Republicans. They're threatening to remove them from their committee assignments. They're making physical threats against other Republicans in order that they won't vote to have the Epstein files released. What's in there that they're so afraid of? I don't know, but here's the tweet. 11:15 a.m. yesterday. "I am not suicidal," she starts it out, "and one of the happiest, healthiest people you will meet. I have full faith in God, and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. As a sinner, I am only saved through his grace and mercy." With that said, that's not like a caveat. Why did you need to go through all of that? Is this like your last rites, Marge? With that said, if something happens to me, I ask you all to find out which foreign government or powerful people would take heinous actions to stop the information from coming out. Not about this issue, but because of the truth that I have been speaking. What? The people understand what I'm saying. She's indicating without indicating it. She's saying it without saying it, that she fears what powerful people would want her silent over her wanting the Jeffrey Epstein files released. What foreign people? You're talking about Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And this tweet came just minutes, as explained by the Daily Beast. I'm not going to read the entire droning nonsense, but this is what she said. The follow-up, like, oh shit, maybe I better cover myself, let people know I don't want to kill myself in case I end up getting Vladimir Putin and tossed out a window. A lot of people with bad balance in Russia, you know. To be clear, she said, to set the record straight on my support for the Massey Epstein discharge petition, I stand with girls and women who are sexually abused and raped. Period. Every time. At all times, she says. For me, it's not about a pissing contest between political parties or political enemies. The Epstein rape and pedophile network must be exposed, says the woman who stands in support of a man who's listed dozens, if not hundreds of times in the document that outlines the Epstein rape and pedophile network. Donald Trump very likely he is certainly a credibly accused member of the Epstein rape and pedophile network. And yet she wants it both ways. She wants to assuage the QAnon element of MAGA, and she wants to also keep her allegiances and sidling up to privileges with Donald Trump and that element of the MAGA crowd. You know, it's bifurcated. It's not one solid, unified movement. Because for so long, MAGA world and QAnon has said the storm is coming. They're going to be rounding up these pedophiles. And now we find, after them calling for the release of the Epstein files, and then all of a sudden, not so much. It's kind of hard to deny that. I mean, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she is a conspiracy theorist, is probably among the camp that thinks Charlie Kirk was killed because of his opposition to keeping the files secret. He vacillated. He went from yes, release the files, to no, there's nothing to see here, going back to release them. It's kind of the same thing as Marjorie Taylor Greene. So in her brain that connects all the dots that don't need to be connected, she likely thinks that Charlie, I have no idea. I don't know if likely or it's possible. We'll just say it's possible. Maybe not probable, but it's certainly possible that she believes Charlie Kirk was assassinated because of his involvement in calling for the Jeffrey Epstein files to be released. I have no idea. But this is what happens when you put conspiracy theorists in office. This is what happens when you elect stupid people to high office. You have to contend with this. You have to, rather than dealing with stories about the government shutdown and about funding the government and in which ways we fund the government and which ideologies we put in place to protect people, to feed people, to clothe people, to make the sick well again. Instead of that, you deal with this kind of shit. Because she's not interested in a well-oiled government that protects everybody. She's not dedicated to the prospect of equal justice under the law. No. She's a saber-rattling psychopath who wants attention for herself, clout for herself. Millions of views on this tweet, clicks on this tweet. And the reason I'm giving her those clicks, the reason I'm giving her that attention is because I have had a clarion call for months and months and months, years and years and years to stop electing stupid people to high office. We need to get back to attending to the business of the people. And this is not the business of the people. Her whips conspiracy theorists into a frenzy. I'm not suicidal, says a sitting United States Congresswoman. Come on, Georgia, get your shit together. What do you think about this? I invite you to this conversation after you've subscribed on YouTube and liked and followed the Facebook page. Go ahead, comment below, or you can call the voicemail line and leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another. Speaking of electing stupid people to high office, wow, everything just kind of rolls together. It's just a baked in segue every time I talk about these things. Donald Trump tweeted a batshit crazy AI video that leans into a years old conspiracy theory that's based in QAnon conspiracy nuttery. And he put a video that contains him from the Oval Office promising med beds. We'll get to what med beds are, but I just want to reflect upon, just very briefly, where we are as a country with the president of the United States who's sharing on the social media platform that he owns a video that is AI generated that contains his daughter-in-law and her Fox News program announcing a policy that cuts to a clip of Donald Trump. All of this is fake. Everything you're getting ready to see is fake, except for the fact that Donald Trump posted this on True Social. That's why I'm not going to share just the video. I'm showing you the tweet with the date so you can go back and verify. The thing I'm showing you is fake, but the source is not. Donald Trump, the president, is sharing promises of a policy that doesn't exist, of a medical technology that doesn't exist, that was reported on a show that didn't report on it, that contains video of him that doesn't exist. The president of the United States of America. Watch this and marvel at the dangerous situation that we face with Donald Trump as president.
Breaking now. President Donald J. Trump has announced a historic new healthcare system, the launch of America's first MedBed hospitals and a national MedBed card for every citizen.
Every American will soon receive their own MedBed card. With it, you'll have guaranteed access to our new hospitals led by the top doctors in the nation, equipped with the most advanced technology in the world. These facilities are safe, modern, and designed to restore every citizen to full health and strength. This is the beginning of a new era in American healthcare.
In this first phase, only a limited number of MedBed cards will be released. Registration details will be announced very soon.
That should alarm you. Even the comments, I'm not going to screen record this right now, but even the comments in reply, go or not, on True Social are like, well, this seems like it's AI, but maybe the president is trying to inform us of something. Maybe there's a secret hidden message that Trump is trying. These people are just out of their minds. They are detached from reality. Rather than just seeking what is the most basic, elementary answer to this, they're going deep into where are the conspiracies? We need to pull back the veil. No, it's just Donald Trump's a dumb shit. Maybe Donald Trump is so addled in his brain, so demented in his brain, suffering cognitively, that he thinks that footage of him is real. Maybe he's like, I don't remember saying that, but that seems like good stuff right there. I don't remember Laura Trump saying that, but that's pretty good. The problem is there are no clear answers. Get a load of this from April 22nd, 2022. This is how far removed we are from this QAnon conspiracy theory that Donald Trump is resurrecting. This is the headline from the Daily Beast. New QAnon conspiracy, again, April 22nd, 2022. New QAnon conspiracy involves a magical bed for zombie JFK. Yeah. Fringe believers think the MedBed cures late-stage cancer and keeps the 35th president alive and young. Now, a host of strange businesses are peddling beds to the desperate. And let me say this, as someone who is a cancer survivor, I had colon cancer, I have so many more subscribers now than I had then, but I almost died of colon cancer back in 2022. October of 2022, I had colon cancer surgery. They removed a third of my colon. I'm healthy. I'm back. I'm good. Okay. I received hundreds, maybe thousands of emails and messages from people that were all obviously concerned, but also a lot from people who were peddling cures, telling me how to cure my cancer using bee pollen and a bunch of other nonsense and conspiracy theories. Now, while I don't get swept away by that nonsense, I am someone who is dedicated to the prospect of truth and not conspiracy driven, of evidence-based practices, the efficacy of actual science and medicine. So I didn't get swept away. But a lot of people who are desperate in a moment of desperation will seek those out and will die because they didn't seek actual treatment. This is dangerous shit that hurts people. Here's the article. In a popular QAnon chat group, a woman named Julie was selling hope and a $22,000 cancer treatment. For, quote, those interested in med beds, she wrote in a 36,000 member QAnon group on the chat platform Telegram. Quote, FYI, my husband uses a hashtag medbed generator and a 4 Tesla biohealers for his stage 3 inoperable and aggressive salivatory gland tumor. This technology is very supportive. The message might have sounded like gibberish to outside readers, but in the corner of the internet where conspiracy theories and alternative health practices run wild, it suggested something barely short of a miracle. The arrival of a much-hyped device that followers think could treat aggressive cancer. And increasingly popular conspiracy theory falsely centers around the existence of med beds, a fabled medical instrument that does everything from reversing aging to regrowing missing limbs. The theory has grown into popularity among followers of far-right movements like QAnon, some of whom claim to be urgently awaiting a medbed to treat severe health conditions. Waiting for the medbed rather than seek treatment from science, from medicine, from proven remedies, or at least treatments. This is dangerous. This hurts regular people. Stupid may they be, they don't deserve to die because of their conspiratorial brain. Some QAnon sects have made medbeds central to their conspiratorial claims. A Dallas-based group, which follows the Q influencer Michael -48 Prodsman, has promoted medbeds, in part because the devices address a plot hole in another conspiracy theory. The group falsely believes that John F. Kennedy is still alive and youthful and attributes his remarkable longevity to the curative powers of medbeds. John F. Kennedy, who was in his 40s, his mid-40s when he was assassinated in 1963. Romana Didulo, a QAnon-adjacent conspiracy leader who claims to be the rightful queen of Canada, has also hyped medbeds. The devices, quote, will be made available for free to all Canadians following her revolution, she wrote in an August post. Followers of Yamato Q, a Japan-based QAnon movement, have also latched onto medbed theories, even making their own attempted version of the device with copper wires. And then finally, some conspiracy theorists believe Trump is aware of the medbeds and can release them to the public. Delays in the prophesied technology, like the one frustrated Q fan noted in an open letter to Trump last year, have led some to speculate that Trump is reserving the devices for the most critical cases and for military members. Look, I don't know. What do you think? Why is Trump Look, Trump is known to be someone who likes to sow discord, who likes chaos, even among the ranks of his allies, even among the ranks of his staff. He likes them pitted against one another. He loves it. So is that what he's doing, but on a national stage to his MAGA supporters? Is he fueled by the drama? Is it nourishment for his soul to send people false hope of this weird medbed nonsense? I don't know. But it's dangerous. On a number of different fronts, it's dangerous. Because either he is addled in his brain and he's gone, or he's a conspiracy theorist who is promoting false hope in a technology that doesn't exist. Regrowing limbs, de-aging people. What is this, Star Trek? Whatever their little device was. Is that what this is? You're curing internal bleeding because you've got a med bed? I don't know. I would like to have a conversation about this in the comments. Please subscribe. Free to subscribe here on YouTube. Free to like and follow over on the Facebook. I would appreciate it very much. You can sound off in the comments. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Yikes. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another, especially when we can't count on those who are in charge to do so. You would think that in this moment, what are we at? The 28th? We're 18 days removed from the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the killing of Charlie Kirk, the Republicans' apoplectic reaction that they killed him. This is political violence from Democrats, even though we don't know anything yet, really, truly about what took place, about the person at all. And there's been a lot of talk from a lot of Republicans, from a lot of conservatives, from a lot of MAGA activists about political violence, finally they're denouncing political violence after Donald Trump has incited it and encouraged it and welcomed it for years. Not among some, though. An elected official in Arizona is calling for the execution of a sitting United States Congresswoman, Pramila Jayapal, from Washington State. In the wake of all that's taken place, he's calling for her killing, for her execution. And I don't know what you think about what political violence is, but when the state, when the government executes someone, that's about as politically violent as it gets, because the power of the state to execute a criminal or someone convicted is done through political policy. And if that is violence that is then carried out, that is political violence by definition. But let me tell you who this guy is. John Gillette is his name. Former cop, former brutal, aggressive cop. Stick around to the end. I don't want to bore everybody who's not interested in it and they end up clicking off. But if you're interested, stick around. Maybe the most violent cop in the country when he was there. I'll get to it. He tweeted this at Val Demings, who is I don't know if she's still in office, but was a Democratic congresswoman from Florida for a long time, a cop, a chief of police for a long time. She tweeted this about the pardons of the January 6th insurrectionists. You won't be surprised to know that he's a supporter of January 6th. As a former law enforcement officer and member of the Fraternal Order of Police and Police Benevolent Association, I don't know if you're bragging or complaining there, Val. It's a fascist organization you're bragging about being a part of. Jackbooted thugs, the police unions. I am waiting for America's law enforcement unions to condemn the pardons of violent offenders who assault police officers on January 6th, quote unquote, back the blue. Are you still holding your breath waiting for that, Val Demings, cop? He replied, many of the January 6th political prisoners, he called them, have been confined without be charged. 4 years, no trial. We know your type. I bet your departments hated you. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, strikes again, says this racist piece of shit, John Gillette, who's now calling for the execution of another woman of color, Pramila Jayapal. This is the tweet, another tweet of him talking about political violence being bad. Then we'll get to the article. Unfortunate political violence is unacceptable, he says. We conservatives use words. The left and legacy media have radicalized unstable people with their rhetoric. I disagree with Lil Ruben, I'm assuming he means Ruben Gallego, on almost everything except his right to speak whatever BS he is selling. So he's against political violence, even unless it's January 6th insurrectionists who violently attempted to overthrow the United States government in order to keep Donald Trump in power. Gotcha. Totally makes sense. It's tracking now. I'm with you, John Gillette. I'm with you. Up until this headline. Republican Arizona lawmaker makes post calling for execution of Democratic Congresswoman John Gillette on Twitter, called for people like Pramila Jayapal to be hanged in response to her video on anti-Trump protests. An Arizona Republican state representative who had expressed support for January 6th insurrectionists on Wednesday called for a Democratic congresswoman to be executed as a response to a video clip. The comment on Twitter by State Representative John Gillette of Kingman, Arizona, first reported by the Arizona Mirror, was a reaction to a short clip drawn from a YouTube video in March by U.S. Representative Pramila Jayapal, a longtime Democratic Congresswoman representing Washington State, entitled, quote, "The Resistance Lab." In the video, Jayapal discusses preparations for street protests amid the Trump administration. Until people like this, that advocate for the overthrow of the American government are tried, convicted, and hanged, it will continue, he posted. He didn't have this attitude when white men, armed, violent white supremacists, stormed the United States Capitol with the express motivation of overthrowing the overthrow of the American government. They were tried, they were convicted, but they weren't hanged. None of them were hanged. So according to his logic, they should have been, though, apparently, unless you look at his other tweets. Nothing in either the clip or the longer video actually suggests Jayapal is advocating for the overthrow of the United States government. The video carries explicit calls for nonviolent protest and discussed with alarm a rise in political violence in the United States. Gillette's comment is a continuation of a string of inflammatory far-right online invective by the Mojave County Republican and retired Army Reserve Command Sergeant Major. Gillette has defended January 6 protesters who were intent on violently overturning Trump's defeat by Joe Biden in the 2020 election as political prisoners, as I've talked about, and described Muslims as terrorists. Two more sentences. It also reflects a widening call among Republicans to criminalize protest and speech critical of the Trump administration. Gillette, of course, because he's a coward, has not yet responded to requests from the Guardian for comment. Now, let me tell you a little bit about who this piece of shit is. This former cop, this disgraced former cop who resigned as soon as a law was passed. By the way, he moved from Illinois to Arizona. Yeah, I guess to get away from his past as being a brutal cop. But they passed a law in Illinois that made a court ruled that internal affairs files concerning cops can be made public. They can't be shielded from public view through Freedom of Information Act requests. And as soon as that happened, he resigned. Here's the headline from the State Journal Register. Was Gillette a rogue deputy or a good cop? And then as a result of the ruling that I just explained, the State Journal Register has obtained files on Gillette and other deputies and is seeking more records from the Illinois State Police and the Springfield Police Departments. And this is how brutal a cop he was. Listen to this in comparison to the other complaints of brutality that were made against his particular department. By himself, the article says, Gillette racked up more complaints during his 13 years on patrol than the entire department generated in 2005, 2006, and 2007 combined. More than 70 deputies work for the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department. Based on the volume, seriousness, and number of sustained complaints, Gillette should have been fired long ago, according to Samuel Walker, a University of Nebraska criminologist who is considered an expert on police misconduct. Quote, "This is one of the worst cases I've heard. Just hearing his record," Walker said. "This sounds really pretty shocking. This officer should have been long gone. There is really a serious failure here." That view is shared by Stephen Meyer, former head of the internal affairs for this county's sheriff's office, who said he would have fired Gillette if he'd had the authority. Quote, "Given the frequency and severity of complaints, there comes a time when the agency has to say enough," said Meyer, who retired in 2001 but remains a sheriff's chaplain. Quote, "I deem law enforcement a profession, and you need to remove those who are not professional." Why would we expect any different? Look, I'm not an ACAB guy. All cops are bastards, but I'm an MCAB guy. Most of them are. You can't look at all of the footage of ICE-related brutality of ICE-related white supremacy, of ICE-related racism, and say, oh, it's just a few bad apples. You can't look at the masked armed agents of the state who are brutally dealing with civilians and immigrants alike in this country, some who are FBI, some who are Border Patrol, some who are ICE, some who are Park Police, some who are Secret Service. Who knows where they're coming from? Homeland Security investigations. Who knows? You can't look at all these videos and say, oh, it's just isolated incidents. It's not. Up until 2007, that was the narrative. That was the narrative until 2007 when, this is just it's isolated incidents when they would be caught. It was a lot of his word against the perp's word, right? And what happened in 2007? This device came out. And all of a sudden, there's video evidence of cops being cops. So you got this cop, John Gillette, elected representative in Arizona, calling for the execution, that the Trump administration should murder this Congresswoman from Washington. Tell me again, Republicans, about your desire for less political violence, for no political violence. Right. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Please subscribe to this channel on YouTube. It's free to do so. Click the subscribe button. Go like and follow on Facebook. All of these are great ways to support this work. And you can also sound off in the comments and have a conversation about this particular topic, or call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you. And if you appreciate me and you want to help support this work, help me produce these videos, first and foremost, go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. For $2 a month, you can help support this work. You can also become a channel member on YouTube by clicking the join button below the video. I'd love that very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine, be less like John Gillette, and take care of one another. You know how I know Republicans don't really care about bringing down the temperature or slowing the pace of political violence or ceasing political violence? You want to know how I know? It's because they're lying about it. You can't claim you want to do away with political violence and then incite your followers to do so. You can't claim you don't want political violence and then lie about when it's happening or when it's not happening. And that's what we're seeing right now. Stephen Miller apparently thinks that the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is out to get him, wants to kill him, wants to extrajudiciously murder Stephen Miller. The same Stephen Miller who claims that calling your opponent a fascist is inciting violence. Come on. Get a load of this tweet from Stephen Miller. Why do you think they posted this? ? This is just engagement farming. Asking a question like this. The tweet he's responding to is, Stephen Miller is a fascist. Why? Why do you think they're posting this? What's funny about this? Let me show you this. I went through this morning. Hell of a way to wake up and conduct your Sunday morning. I got tired of printing at 11 pages of Stephen Miller calling his political opponents fascists. If the idea of free speech enrages you, the cornerstone of democratic self-government, then I regret to inform you, you are a fascist, says the man who's in the administration that is now having comedians fired from their jobs or attempting to have them fired from their jobs for telling jokes about the president that they don't like. Gotcha. The Biden administration's decision to launch a fascist ministry of truth. We have descended into third world fascist tyranny. And will Joe Biden contemn this viciously dehumanizing fascist rhetoric? Oh, there's more. It's just page after page after page. And then, stick around for this. Right around the election, seriously, just page after page. Right around the election, Democrats have spent 8 years, and especially the last several years, trying to portray President Trump and his supporters as fascist enemies of democracy. This nonstop lie has poisoned our country and put the lives of President Trump and his family in danger, says the guy who calls everybody a fascist. Come on. Democratic rhetoric has gotten so dangerous and so demented. Everyone who disagrees with them is defamed as a Nazi, as a fascist, as a Klansman. Kamala Democrats are spreading the most vile, venomous, psychopathic hatred. It's pure poison, says Stephen Miller. Pure, putrid poison. He doubles down. Oh, Stephen Miller. And then there's one more that I remember highlighting that I wanted to read. Sorry. Dry hands here. Oh, here we go. Democrat officials have broken every rule, every norm, and countless laws to try to stop Trump. They have endangered his physical safety by dementedly slandering him as a fascist threat to democracy, all to maintain their own power and control over your lives. And then not in order, but also they flaunt their corruption, bask in their vile abuses, revel in their fascist lawfare. So apparently it's okay. I'm going to stop reading it because there's just too many. Here's another one. You have angrily and viciously slandered 150 million Americans as Nazi, fascist, racist garbage. If you don't want to be called Nazi, fascist, racist garbage, then maybe don't be a fascist, garbage, Nazi piece of shit, Stephen Miller. He doesn't want to be called a fascist, but he doesn't mind calling people fascist. I know I took too long with that. So here's where it really gets pretty sticky, pretty good, yeah. Is when Stephen Miller tweeted this language incites violence and terrorism, says the man you just heard call people fascist over and over and over and over, 11 pages worth of printed pages, right? And he put in this video accusing the governor of California of inciting violence and terrorism. Here's the video that he said was inciting violence and terrorism.
That's happening in the United States of America. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability, happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country. And so I'm deeply proud that I had the privilege of signing the nation's first bill to address the issue of masking, also to require you have simple identification, to your point. I mean, if some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies. These are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government. You saw what Stephen Miller said last week. This should put chills up fine. Called the Democratic Party an extremist organization, basically a terrorist organization, saying he's going after his enemies. You saw the tweet that Donald Trump sent out, Truth Social, basically telling Pam Bondi, I want these 3 people taken out. That's happening in the United States.
So gotcha. Not a hypocrite at all. Not a Nazi at all. Not a fascist at all. Not a racist. Not a white supremacist piece of garbage. No. Stephen Miller is none of those things. Here is a wonderful example just the other day of Stephen Miller, who's not any of the things I just said.
Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Obama, Monaco, all conspired together, all worked together to try to sabotage, undermine, unravel the democratic institutions and structures of this country. The Russiagate hoax, the Russiagate conspiracy, and all of the assaults against our liberties that went with it, the pre-dawn raids, the handcuffing of innocent Americans, the espionage against President Trump's campaign and staff, the removal of his national security advisor, one fake indictment, one fake charge after another, the special counsel, all of it was a unrelenting attempt to overthrow the government the American people voted for. I cannot find words harsh enough to condemn the conduct of these conspirators, these insurrectionists.
If you're calling for the persecution of your political enemies, who were, Comey in this case, was just days away from the statute of limitations lifting on the whatever charges they trumped up, you're a fascist, Steve Miller. You are a fascist. You can call everybody else a fascist, but when they call you a fascist, then it's violence. Then it's inciting violence. We see you. We hear you. We know what you're about. You little Nazi puke, you fascist f***. We know what you're doing. You're not fooling anybody. You might be fooling the MAGA mob who is desperate to be fooled. But you're not fooling the rest of us, you twitchy little puke. Anyway, what do you think about this? You can have a conversation in the comments. Before you do make your way to the comments, please make sure you're following this page on Facebook. Like and follow the Dollemore Daily on Facebook. You can also subscribe for free. Click the subscribe button on YouTube and subscribe to this channel as we're marching steadily ahead to 1.5 million subscribers, hopefully by the end of the month. End of the year. End of the month. That would be some meteoric attention and rise. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I welcome your comments. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. I sure do love and appreciate you very much, your activism, your organization, your passion for the country, and hopefully make this place a better place to live. Be genuine. Take care of one another. Maybe it's just me. Maybe. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. Is it normal for a sitting elected president of the United States to declare war against cities that didn't vote for him in the previous election? Is that normal? I wish I had a history book here. I could just go through and see all of the many times or not that a president called to declare war against an American city. That's what Donald Trump did again. We've already seen his declaration of war with his AI Apocalypse Now tweet or post on True Social. He's done it again just yesterday at 10:19 a.m. at the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Christine Ohm. I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland. War-ravaged Portland, huh? Portland's a beautiful city. I didn't know that they were invaded, that they're currently occupied. I guess they will be pretty soon, right? War-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force, fully capitalized, full force, capitalized for some reason. Apparently he's really serious about it. That's how you know it's from the capitalization. If necessary, he says, thank you for your attention to this matter. Oh, thank you for this official presidential proclamation on the social media outfit that you own. Dipshit president. Moron president. So let me get this straight. Declaring war against a blue city that did not vote for you in overwhelming fashion. Red troops will go in and occupy and invade the city as a declaration of war. No troops when your gang of your armed mob of violent white supremacist insurrectionists attacked the Capitol and attempted to overthrow the United States government. No troops for that, but troops for Portland. Gotcha. That's great. Look at this headline. This is what would come expectedly. Portlanders mock Trump by posting pics of peaceful weekend activities in war-ravaged city. Residents of Portland, Oregon have mocked Donald Trump's description of the city as war-ravaged by posting pictures online of their wholesome and peaceful weekends. Now, let me say this before I show you some of these photos and read the rest of this article. Donald Trump is going to, there's a lot of people who don't travel east, who live in the West, who don't know that Washington, D.C. was not a crime-riddled, dangerous place to live. They hear people like me say, I live here and it was fine. But it's all talk. Because if you don't come here and know that it wasn't dangerous, that the crime wasn't out of control, that there was no need for a federal takeover, there was certainly no need for armed National Guard troops to patrol the city streets. None of that. It's a violation of posse. We'll just end it there. But when the same rhetoric and lies and conspiracy theories that he tells about Washington, D.C., when he starts telling them about other cities that people might be acquainted with, then they're going to know, oh, yeah, that is total bullshit. He was totally being a fucking liar about Washington, D.C. I've been to Portland. That place isn't a war zone. What is he talking about? They're going to know. Here's one of those posts. Live look at the war-torn streets of Portland, Oregon, one user wrote, sharing a vista of the steel bridge with blooming cherry blossom trees lining the walkways. Marauding hordes wind their way through rows of roses in war-ravaged Portland, hashtag. Oh, the demise of humanity, wrote another alongside a snap of people enjoying a rose garden in the sunshine. Posting more pictures of a peaceful and largely deserted city center, a third user added, look at this bombed out destruction zone. Please stay away from Portland because you just won't be able to survive here. It comes after the president announced Saturday that he blah, blah, blah. I've already shared that with you. In response, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson wrote in a statement, President Trump has directed all necessary troops to Portland, Oregon. The number of necessary troops is 0 in Portland and any other city in America. And, any other American city. His sentiment was shared with Oregon Governor Tina Kotek, who said she had been abundantly clear with both Trump and Homeland Security boss Kristi Noem that the city and state could handle its own security. Quote, there is no insurrection, there is no threat of national security, she wrote. Other political figures joined on the online trend of sharing pictures of their communities. Scenes from war-ravaged Portland today, wrote Maxine Dexter, who represents Oregon's 3rd congressional district. Look, Donald Trump's not going to stop. Donald Trump is talking about running for a 3rd term to violate the Constitution. Donald Trump is attacking blue cities. He's not sending troops to Dallas, which has a higher crime rate than these cities. He's not sending troops to red cities run by red governors or red mayor. He's not doing that. This is politically calculated, politically motivated. This is political waging of war. The president of the United States waging war against states that didn't vote for him. The same president, by the way, who incited an insurrection against the country so he could stay in power. What do you say in order to keep yourself out of trouble? When you're a fiery character as it is, a defiant character who will not bend the knee to these fascists, these credibly accused rapists of children and women. Donald Trump, talking about you, Donald Trump. What do you say? Anyway, what do you say? You can say it in the comments below this video, wherever you're watching it, whether that be Facebook, where you should like and follow the page, or YouTube, where you should subscribe for free. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. And please think about this. Not if you're on a fixed income. I'm going to ask for your support. Independent media, very important. The dangers that is posed by Donald Trump and this fascist government against what we do to try to suppress our speech is very real right now. But I don't want your support monetarily if you're on a fixed income, if you're on retirement, if you're on disability, if you're in a situation that you're financially precarious. Do not. Just subscribe. Just share this video. That is awesome. But if you do have an extra $2 a month and you want to help support this work, please lend me your support. On Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. That's a great way to help support. Or you can click the join button below the video on YouTube to become a channel member there. I love and appreciate you very much. Very much. We're all in this together. That is the way I see it, because that is the truth. Be genuine. Take care of one another.